James Gondi, thank you so much for joining us on Ebro Africa TV News. We appreciate for your time. Now, my first question to you is Africa's latest onslaught to pull out of the ICC, to pull out all African countries out of the ICC. What's your take on that?
First of all, I'd just like to mention that we've been interacting with the community of researchers and analysts in Addis, and that particular attempt or onslaught has been received with a cold shoulder by most African states. In fact, it hasn't gained any traction, and it hasn't been tabled officially. So I wouldn't read too much into it, except to say that any attempt to pull out of the ICC by AU member states would actually be in contradiction of the African Union's constitutive document, the Constitutive Act, which actually stipulates that the African Union is committed to combating crimes against humanity.
Will this court attract enough support and trust?
Some states within Africa have got judiciaries that are very, very proactive and have a lot of integrity in comparison to others which have less integrity. So I don't think it's fair to judge the African legal system based on the democratic deficit that exists in African states largely. I would say there's a lot of room for improvement with regard to democracy and accountability within nation states in Africa, but I wouldn't use that as a tool to perhaps rubbish the potential for an African court or African legal system, so long as the African legal system is founded on the tenets of transparency, seeking accountability, and is not designed to shield any perpetrator from justice, including those bearing the highest responsibility. And those sometimes includes heads of state and government.
Now, let's talk about Kenya. The country is on the front line in this onslaught. Actually, they are believed to be among the top masterminds of this pullout. What image does this leave for the country outside there internationally?
Kenya's engagement with the AU, I think, has been very advanced since the beginning of the ICC process. We've had shuttle diplomacy and many diplomatic efforts to try and manipulate international discourse on criminal accountability. The fact remains that the Waki report identified those bearing the greatest responsibility for crimes against humanity, and those persons must be prosecuted. We had an opportunity in Kenya to set up a special tribunal to try them nationally. The political elites spurned that opportunity. What difference do we think, what different approach are the political elites proposing to us with regard to the African court, if at the national instance they spurned the opportunity? So the stern test that would apply to the political elites is to first subject themselves to this court that they're attempting to establish. But establishing the court in itself is not a bad idea, as long as the proceedings of that particular court are not intended to shield any person from justice, including heads of state and government, including the head of state in Kenya.
Speaking about accountability, let's talk about the Deputy President's case that is now at the ICC. The opposition leader, Raila Odinga, has offered himself to testify on behalf of his party, that is ODM, if called upon. Now, it's a very heavy development when you think about it. What is your take on it?
Criminal responsibility is individual and is ascribed individually. I think the former Prime Minister's gesture to testify on behalf of his party is not relevant because the organization that he represents is not an individual entity within the context of the Rome Statute. So I would ascribe that to politics and political rhetoric.
James Gondi, thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much, Sam, and thanks to Ebro TV. It's a pleasure.